auspicious note by lighting the ceremonial lamp. Gentlemen. Please. Give. Thank you so much, gentlemen. And now for our first speaker today, our Chancellor, Dr. Virender Singh Chauhan, a scientist who has worked in genetic engineering and biotechnology. He's known for his contributions towards developing a recombinant vaccine for malaria. A Rhodes Scholar, he received the Padma Shri in 2012. He was also the chairman of the University Grants Commission and the chairman of the Executive Council of NAC, the National Assessment and Accreditation Council of India. Under his leadership and his desire to continue working hard, experiment, and build an environment conducive to new ideas, Dr. Chauhan is ensuring that Geetam and, of course, Kautilya transcend its rich heritage into an institution of the future. Dr. Chauhan.
Good afternoon to everyone. First of all, I'm delighted to be here. When I came here first, when the Kautilya school was starting, that was the very beginning, I recall we're a little bit further away from the students, but I had the early impression of, I'm very proud of the fact that I was here at the inception. So, chief guest of today's function, Chandrababu Naidu Sahab, Bharat, President of Geetam, my friend Vice Chancellor, Professor Dayanandji, a lot of people whom I see in the front row, whom I know personally, Dilip and many of you, parents of and the well-wisher of students, but most importantly, students who are graduating today. I'm sure it's not by design. I think it must be incidental that Syed, my good friend, your dean, did not allow any exposure, my exposure to you for the 2 years that you've been here. And he is protected from all evil influences that might have brought. But I'm thankful to Syed to have really called me. Now, so I've been interacting. That's my job, actually. It's a job I really enjoyed. I've been interacting with the young students for more than 50 years. I started teaching at St. Stephen's College when I was 21 years old. Since then, I fell in love with young students year after year after year. And I was fortunate enough to be involved with some of the very bright young people from the top, because I was entrusted to run Rhodes Scholarship and later on Inland Scholarships, and currently including Felix Scholarships. I've seen battery, the generation of very, very good students. And never ceased to amaze me how good the younger generations have become. The past 3 years have been really remarkable for all of us. India universities were shut for more than 600 days. And I've watched the generation that, including yours, that I lived through this tiny little RNA virus that played havoc. And I'm sure you have your own lessons to learn from COVID pandemic, and would have or should have shadows and reflections on how public policies can be made. To my mind, public policies can be many things, but public policies, from where I see public policy, and I'm involved in some of them, is really for public good. So anything that you and I plan, do eventually, currently, futuristic, have to be for public good. So COVID, I'm not going to talk for very long. I have just 10 minutes. I'll touch upon 2-3 things. As I said, I watched this generation, 2-3 years of people who, both from faculty, from students, from doctors, from nurses, my own work in the lab, and many lessons are there. But 2 lessons stand out for me, and that's in the backdrop of public policy. The most important to me is when the pandemic came, rich behaved, and I'm saying this with great care. Rich behaved exactly as rich are expected to, or we are used to how rich behaves. When I rich, I don't mean individual of us who have more money than the others. I really mean at the international level. So it is absolutely true, and it should not escape any future international policymakers that a very large part of humanity in Africa, many parts of Latin America, never saw any vaccines, although there was a huge surplus of vaccines in the rest of the world. That lesson cannot be forgotten in future public policy. I do want to give this talk as a very serious talk, but I just finished interviewing people to go to 2 major universities, and I was struck by the fact that how many of young people of your generation actually have come out with proposals they want to work in climate change and environment. Suddenly there is a huge, I wouldn't say awareness, I think we are aware of climate change by what we look at fires not even in Canada, fires in Greece about 3 years back. Currently, as I speak with you, Democratic Republic of Congo, is a huge floods there. But it's just that everybody wanting to be part of solving that problem. I think that's very encouraging, but that can be really a bit defeating also. Why it can be defeating at the policy levels or otherwise, to my mind, and this is a very personal opinion, is that if everybody rushes to what looks like somebody everybody wants to rush to, is that there are very few soldiers on foot soldiers which will look after doing what needs to be done. So we could be in situation where we can tell everybody else and nations or states or panchayats, but somebody telling that this is what you should do. And here is a message to, at my age, I think I can easily give you messages. As far as I'm concerned, the issues that I mentioned, 2-3 issues that I mentioned to you, or the climate change especially, I think this has to be personal responsibility. If you want to work in education or health or climate change, environmental degradation, biodiversity preservation, it cannot be A telling B or B telling. Of course, you need clever people to write down the policies and so on, and there are no dearth of clever people, but eventually it has to be personal responsibility. If you are fortunate enough to have obtained higher education, and I consider you very fortunate, you've come to, and brave as well, you've come to one of the finest institutions, you've been taught by very bright people. And I said, I forgot to finish my earlier comment, when I met with you first time, my sense was, although you were a little bit further at that day, is that I was looking at some of the brightest people, and trust me, I've seen very bright people. I was looking at some of the very bright people. And last couple of days when I stayed on the campus and I interacted with some of you, I was fortunate to interact with some of you. I'm so pleased at the outcome that Syed and his colleagues and Geetam Kautilya School has been able. I congratulate everybody. I congratulate all of you for having created. And I'm very happy that I'm part of celebration. There's yet another. I lived through 3-4 disruption. I grew up in a refugee colony. My parents were not very rich.